Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just a few housekeeping tips before we really jump into things. There is a box down in the bottom right-hand corner that says chat, and it says type your message. If you have any questions or anything that I don't answer for you today, I do have some time allowed at the end to answer those questions that you may have. I will cover quite a few questions that were submitted on the forms when you registered. But if there's anything else that you can think of, please go ahead and type it in that bottom right-hand corner, and I will answer those at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. All of you are planning to go to Scandinavia this summer with us, and so before you head off, we wanted to reach out and answer some questions that you may have about what to pack, money, where to meet your guide, etc. So first, I'll go over just some general information, answer some of the questions that were submitted on the registration forms, and then at the end of the presentation, like I said, I'll open it up for additional questions you might have. And if you did submit any questions that were related to your specific tour, I may not cover that online today, but I'll reach out to you afterward via email to directly answer those questions. So first, a quick introduction. My name is Amanda Hancock, and I'm the Manager of Sales and Marketing for Brecky Tours. If you have any questions that I don't answer for you today, please feel free to contact us. I have our 800 number there, our main email account, as well as our website. And a lot of the information that I'm going to cover today can be found in your helpful hint booklet. If you haven't received a copy of that, please let us know. We'll be glad to send that out to you. And so, some of you may have already received your documents by now. If not, they will typically be mailed out 2 to 3 weeks before your tour departs. You can expect one packet of information per couple. So if you and your husband are traveling together, or your husband and wife, you'll receive one packet. In the package, you'll find the following information: a departure letter with some basic information pertaining to your specific tour, a copy of your final tour itinerary, your final flight itinerary, luggage tags, a tote bag, a contact list for the hotels you'll be staying at while on tour, airport information, and then any additional information that might pertain to your particular tour. Now, some documents are more important than others. For instance, please double check to make sure that your passport is valid for at least 3 to 6 months after your return date, and that you have a copy or two of your passport. You'll want to pack your passport and a copy in your carry-on, and then you may want to leave a second copy of your passport with a family member or friend that can be sent to the U.S. Embassy in case your passport is lost or stolen while you're overseas. Please take a few moments and ensure that the name listed on your airline ticket matches your passport name, and this includes your first, middle, and last name. You may also want to keep your airline receipt to ensure that your miles are credited to your account. Now, the airlines are responsible for crediting your points to your frequent flyer account. Thus, if your account balance is incorrect, I would ask that you contact the airlines directly. And finally, if you've booked any independent services with us, such as a pre or post-tour extension, please review those documents before you depart the U.S. and contact us immediately if you notice any errors or if you have any questions. Please note that the vouchers will have emergency contact numbers on them in case you need assistance while traveling. And finally, please be sure to note any special instructions on your vouchers. So for instance, you are taking a train. Train vouchers must be exchanged for an actual ticket before you board the train. And so we note that on your voucher. So it's just kind of a good reminder to check those before you leave. Now, on the land portion of your tour, we allow one suitcase and one carry-on bag per person. Luggage handling at the hotels is provided for one suitcase. Thus, your luggage will be delivered and picked up at your room at the beginning and end of your stay. We do provide 2 luggage tags per person. Thus, you'll want to put that one on your large suitcase, and then you might want to put the other one on your carry-on. You may also want to put a label with your name, address, and phone number inside your luggage, just in case your tag becomes separated. Now, most airlines do allow one free piece of checked luggage on international flights. Now, if you have a domestic ticket booked in conjunction with your international flight, the airlines may charge a baggage fee. So you may want to check with your airline before departing to see if any fees apply. Now, typically your checked luggage can weigh up to 50 pounds and the dimensions cannot exceed 62 inches. And so that's length plus width plus height. And basically it's a standard large roller bag. And for your carry-on, usually the weight cannot exceed 22 pounds and the dimensions should not go over 45 inches. Again, that's length plus width plus height. So for carry-on, for check luggage, it's 50 pounds, 62 inches. For carry-on, it's 22 pounds, 45 inches. Now, because luggage fees and restrictions vary from airline to airline, you may want to contact them directly for more information. So I've listed here the four main airlines that we use when traveling from the US to Scandinavia. Now, we had a lot of questions about what to pack as far as clothing. So casual clothing is appropriate for all of our tours. For the nights that we have dinner included, you may want to bring slacks and a nice shirt or blouse, as Scandinavians do like to dress up a bit for dinner, but it's completely optional. Clothing that can be layered is recommended, as temperatures can change depending on where you're traveling during the day. Good walking shoes are a definite must, as sightseeing along cobblestone streets and walking in the mountains of Norway is really not the place for heels or flip-flops. A raincoat with a removable lining is also a good choice, or you may want to bring a rain poncho. A light coat or jacket may also be necessary in the morning and during the evenings. You may also want to bring a swimsuit if you'd like to enjoy any of the pools or spas at the hotels. And finally, leave your valuables at home. If it will create an emotional or financial hardship, it's best just to leave it behind. So in case your luggage is delayed, we do have a little tip for you. I recommend packing some of your clothes in a carry-on, and so at least one change of clothes. And that way, if they're delayed, at least you have a change. And if you're traveling with someone, put some of your clothes in their suitcase and vice versa. In case one bag is delayed, at least, again, you'll have another change of clothes. Now, if you're planning to visit family or friends in Scandinavia, you may want to bring a small gift, especially if they're extending their hospitality in some way. Appropriate gifts include an American flag or windsock, books, calendars, t-shirts, caps, and other items that are unique to your city or state, college or professional sports clothing, Native American or country and Western themed items, liquor or liqueurs. And then for the kids, Disney clothing, candy, puzzles, or cartoon characters are always a favorite. So some other items that you may want to include: extra memory cards and batteries for your camera, snacks, and a refillable water bottle. Now, the water that you'll encounter in Scandinavia is perfectly safe to drink from the tap. So if you would just prefer to save a couple of bucks during the day, instead of buying water along the way, you can just bring an empty water bottle with you and fill it up before you head out. Washcloths. That's something that we're not really used to packing here in the US because most hotels provide those, but in Scandinavia they don't. So if you happen to use those to wash your face or something like that in the evening, it's something that you might want to bring along. Tissues, sewing kit or safety pins, medications, and this includes prescription and over-the-counter. Band-aids and a first aid kit are also a good idea to bring. Converter and adapters, and we'll go over those a little bit more detailed in just a minute. Sunscreen and sunglasses, extra eyeglasses or repair kit, and extra contacts and solution. Maps and travel information, spot remover such as a Tide stick or the wipes, inflatable pillow or eye mask, an umbrella or a poncho, Some people like to bring a journal to record their memories from the day, and then a small day pack for sweaters, your camera, snacks, and water is also a good thing to bring. And then plastic baggies. So if for some reason you go swimming and your swimsuit is still wet, to keep that from getting the rest of your clothes wet, you can put it in a plastic bag and pack it, and then air it out when you get to your next hotel. Now, the climate in Scandinavia is very similar to that of the northeastern US, though it's really not as hot in the summer or as cold during the winter. Average daytime temperatures in Fahrenheit for June, July, and August range from the high 40s to the mid 60s, depending on your region of travel. And I would definitely recommend checking the weather forecast before you depart for the US from the US, just to give you an idea of what to expect while you're traveling. Now here we're going to talk about the converter versus adapter. So the world runs on two types of electricity, 110, 125 volt, or 220 and 240 volt. Most North American devices run on the 110, 125 voltage, while the majority of the world runs on 220, 240. So there's usually a label on your device that will help determine if a voltage converter is necessary. And so the converter is your larger box that actually converts the electricity. So to find this information, the label may be affixed directly to the back of the device on the AC transformer box that you would plug into the wall, or molded into the plastic on the plug. And sometimes it's really hard to see and it's in really small print, so you might have to do a little hunting. Now, if your device does line up to be dual voltage, so it will work on 110 or 220, then all you need is an adapter. And basically, this just changes the plug. It doesn't convert any electricity, it just changes the plug. The adapters usually sell for around $3 to $5, and it's the two round prongs is the type that you'll need for Scandinavia. Now, converters usually a little bit more expensive. Those are 25 to maybe $30 depending on where you get them. So currency, we get a lot of questions about this. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland each have their own currency known as a kroner. And in Finland, they use the euro. The currency of the five countries is not interchangeable. So for those of you that are maybe traveling on our Taste of Sweden and Norway or Captivating Scandinavia, you will need to change currencies as you move from country to country. So the easiest place to exchange your money is at your arrival airport. You can also exchange money at the banks and some post offices, and your tour director will assist in locating the exchange desk or ATM. So once you meet your tour guide, they can help you out with finding a location where to change that. Now you will find that most major credit cards, such as Visa, MasterCard, and in some larger stores, American Express, are honored. um, you can you can use these at hotels, stores, banks, and restaurants. However, most credit card companies do charge a foreign transaction fee on purchases made abroad. So that's something that you may want to check on before you depart the US. Most retailers in Europe use the smart card system instead of the magnetic strip. I've seen that more here in the US now that we have the little chip in our cards instead of just having the magnetic strip on the back. So please be sure that yours does have the chip, and you may want to go ahead and set up your 4-digit PIN before you depart the US. So two things to remember. Be sure to call your credit card company before you depart the US. And just to let them know that you will be traveling outside the US. They'll usually ask you for your dates and where you're traveling. And so this will prevent any fraudulent holds being placed on your card if they see a purchase from outside the US. And second, you probably will want to bring at least 2 credit cards if you plan on using your credit cards while in Scandinavia. That way, if one doesn't work, at least you have a backup. So ATMs are readily available in larger cities. So if you are looking for an ATM, you'll mostly likely find one in Oslo, Bergen, Copenhagen, Stockholm without any problems. We don't typically recommend taking traveler's checks because they're not as widely accepted as they once were. And another important thing to note is perhaps making a copy of your credit card to leave behind in case it happens to get lost or stolen, so that you can have somebody call the credit card company to issue a replacement. So if you're out shopping and you need to know just kind of a general idea of how much something costs, here is a quick little handy guide. So if you're looking at something in Norwegian kroner, you would divide that price by 8 to get the approximate US dollar amount. For Danish kroner, you would divide by 6. Swedish kroner, you would divide by 8. And Icelandic kroner, you would divide by 100. And for the euro, multiply by 1.1 or 1.2, just to get a general idea. And this website, oanda.com, will give you the current exchange rates for each of the currencies. So if you're planning to travel to Minneapolis for your departing flight, because most of our tours do depart out of Minneapolis, you may be interested in our Park and Fly special in conjunction with the Hyatt Regency Bloomington Mall of America. Ooh, that's a mouthful. This hotel is near the South Airport entrance, and the rates start at $119 for a king or two queen bedded room and includes 10 free days of parking. There's also a shuttle to the airport and the Mall of America. So if you're interested in that, please give us a call or send us an email, and we'll be happy to make that reservation for you. Now, all of our escorted tours, our group air will be flying on Iceland Air out of Minneapolis. So there are two terminals at Minneapolis International Airport. There's Terminal 1, which is Lindbergh, and Terminal 2, which is Humphrey. Now, Iceland Air serves Terminal 2, which is Humphrey. If you have a domestic flight arriving into Terminal 1, there is free transportation between the two terminal buildings. And this information is found on page 13 of our Helpful Hints book if you need some more information. All Iceland Air flights will route through Iceland. They'll stop at the Keflavik Airport. You'll arrive and then you'll switch planes and continue on through to Norway or Sweden, depending on where you're traveling to. You will need to show your passport at customs before you head to the next gate. But you will not need to collect your luggage. That will automatically be transferred, provided that your luggage is checked through to the final destination. So when you check in at your departing airport, whether that be Minneapolis or if you're flying out of someplace else, please make sure that your luggage is checked through to your final destination, whether it be Oslo or Bergen, and that way it doesn't get stuck behind somewhere in Iceland. In Iceland, you'll only need about 30 to 45 minutes to go from gate to gate. Now, the airport, I will give you a little heads up that the Iceland Air has been growing by leaps and bounds. However, the airport in Iceland has not. So it can be quite crowded in the airport. And so you may need a little bit more time to get from your gate just in order to weave through the traffic, but it's still a pretty easy connection. Now, during your flight with Iceland Air, you can expect free in-flight entertainment and headphones for sale, or you can bring your own. So if you plan on listening to some music or watching a movie, you may want to go ahead and bring your own headphones. You will receive complimentary water, soft drinks, tea, and coffee. However, in economy class, food is only for sale. It is not complimentary. So snacks range from about $2 to $5 for chips, sweets, trail mix, and pastries. And then meal items are $8 and up. And so those include a snack box, sandwich, or salad. You can, of course, bring food onto the plane as well. So for those of you that have requested window or aisle seats on your tour applications, we did send those requests to Iceland Air and for the based on your selection. However, we can't guarantee that the airlines will not change or cancel the seats after the request has been made. So unfortunately, we don't own the airlines. They're a completely separate entity. So we have to abide by their rules and their policies. we can only try our best. So if we're not able to assign the seats at the time of booking, you will be assigned a seat when checking into the flight. If you do need wheelchair assistance or an electric cart for transfers at connecting flights, we can request that, but you'll need to re-verify that at the airports when checking in. So it's just, we can go ahead and request it, but when you check in, it's always just a good idea to reconfirm that that has been arranged. All right, some handy tips on how to avoid jet lag. First off, try to sleep on board. If you do have trouble sleeping, I know I can't sleep on an airplane most of the time. So I usually use over-the-counter sleep aids. And then I also bring an eye mask and earplugs, a blanket, and a pillow, which will help me to sleep a little bit better. You may also want to bring a toothbrush and anything else that isn't liquid or a gel that you need to freshen up before you get off the plane. Wear loose clothing and wear comfortable shoes. A note is to try not to take them off as your feet sometimes do swell during long flights. To prevent that, you can try walking up and down the aisle to stretch your limbs and get the blood circulating. Um, if there's any kind of in-flight exercise video, you should try to participate in that as it helps to prevent fatigue. Drink plenty of water on the plane, and you might want to avoid alcohol, caffeine, and carbonated drinks. I would also recommend avoiding contact lenses in flight because the cabin air does tend to dry them out. And if you tend to get airsick, drink a small bottle of ginger ale before boarding and pack a newspaper in your carry-on. The ginger ale will help calm your stomach, and so will the smell of the newspaper. Now, once you arrive, spend lots of time out in the sunlight. This will help your body reset its natural time clock to coincide with your new surroundings. So you are on the ground, you have arrived, now what? So if you are traveling on our group flights from the US to Scandinavia, you will be met after deplaning and collecting your luggage by your tour guide. So after you collect your luggage, you'll go through passport control, and then you'll see two exits for customs: green if you have nothing to declare, and red if if you have something that you need to declare. You'll choose the appropriate exit, and then after leaving the customs area, you'll continue to the arrival hall, and that's where you'll meet your lovely tour director. So here's a picture of Shar and Kim from our office. They're waiting for a group to arrive, and they've got the lovely Brecky logo, so you know who to look for. Now, if you're arriving on a different flight than our group, you are welcome to join the transfers, provided that the arrival time is similar. Please be sure to send a note to our office indicating the flight number, arrival time, and the flight's point of departure. That way we can keep up if there's any delay or cancellation in the flight. Now, if your flight does not coincide with the group transfer, not to worry. There's a variety of transportation methods to get you from the airport to the hotel. There's airport buses with frequent departures, and then in some cities there's trains and of course taxis are another option. So the best place to find the list of options available for your particular city is on page 12 of your Helpful Hints booklet, and this will give you a variety of transfer options along with some approximate pricing. So what you'll do once you arrive to your hotel, we'll have you meet your group at the hotel for the welcome dinner, and that information will be found in your departure letter of your tour packet. So just some general information about the hotels in Scandinavia. The first thing that you may notice is that they are smaller than what we expect here in the US, and not all of them will have air conditioning. All the hotels that we use on our itineraries do have private bathrooms with a shower or a tub, a toilet, and a sink. So you won't have to go down the hall to use the bathroom. It's all right there in your room. Now, if you do get to your room and you think there's a fuse that's blown because the lights and the TV won't turn on, you just need to sit back and look for a little box that's probably located near your door. Here you will slip your key card in, and that will give you access to the electricity in the room. So, like I said, it's usually near the door when you come in. Sometimes it's tucked away. You might have to hunt for it, but it's a great way to control the consumption of energy. But sometimes it's a little confusing when you first arrive. Now, some hotels in the larger cities will have a guest laundry room or offer cleaning service at an additional cost. And for more information on what's available, I would ask the front desk staff. Nearly all hotels offer internet access in their lobbies at a computer station, and most now offer wireless connections in the rooms as well. And before you set off on your own, I would recommend grabbing a business card or a map from the front desk. In case you get lost, you can use the business card to ask for directions using the map in order to get back to the hotel. Most of the time, you will have a hair dryer, clothes iron, or pants press, along with shower gel and shampoo in your room. However, if you find that you're missing one of these items, you can call down to the front desk and they'll bring them up to you. So just some general information about what to expect while on the tour. Most of the time we do try to depart the hotel between 7:30 and 9, depending on the day's activities. A breakfast buffet is served each morning at the hotel, so you should reserve some time for eating before departure. Your guide will let you know each evening what the next day's departure time will be. You can expect to arrive at your hotel each night around 6 p.m. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. On travel days, you can expect several stops to allow for restroom breaks and sightseeing activities. Now, while most of our tours are leisurely, you can expect to walk short distances each day, and sometimes this is over uneven terrain such as cobblestones. You'll also need to be able to climb the steps in and out of the bus. Now, restrooms, that's something that some people have a hard time with in Norway and Scandinavia, just in general, because sometimes they're located on lower levels of buildings and there's not always elevators. So I just want to flag this issue for you. If you do need assistance, we ask that you bring a qualified and physically able companion to assist you. You can, of course, choose to opt out of any activities while on tour. We leave that at your discretion. And unfortunately, motorized scooters are not suitable for any of our escorted tours. And so, unfortunately, because we can't control the universe, things do happen from time to time that are beyond our control. If something does happen while you are overseas and you need assistance, there are a few helpful places that you can get assistance from. First, ask help from your tour director. From lost luggage to finding a good place to eat, your tour director is there to help ensure that your vacation is as carefree as possible. If you happen to leave your phone behind at your hotel room, need an injury seen by a doctor, or have something stolen, your tour director can be a huge asset in getting the help that you need. Now, if you're on your own or you haven't met up with your tour group yet, seek help directly from the source, whether it be the airlines, hotel, car rental agency, whatever. Now, if you're like me and are directionally challenged and you tend to get lost easily, asking help from local residents is always an easy thing to do. So most Scandinavians do speak English fluently, and you'll find that most are willing to lend a hand if asked nicely. And just remember that a smile can open many doors. If you do really need assistance right away, be sure to know how to place a call while you're in Scandinavia and what the local emergency numbers are. And this can be found on page 31 of your Helpful Hints booklet, and it has all the emergency contact information. Now, if your passport does go missing, know where the U.S. Embassy is so that you can get started immediately on getting a new one. And finally, be adventurous. Don't let one bad thing ruin what could be a great trip. Just think of the stories that you can tell everybody back home. And then these tips didn't fit really nicely into other sections. So I just kind of put them all together. These are just some other random things that we thought might be helpful and that some of us wish that we had known first before traveling to Scandinavia. First off, save your poor toes and step over the threshold as you enter your hotel room. Many thresholds in Scandinavia are raised and you'll find yourself stumbling if you're not too careful. Also, be cautious when getting in and out of bathtubs, as they tend to be taller than the tubs that we have here in the US. Now, after finishing a great meal, you might find that your waiter or waitress just keeps coming back to check on you, but never brings the check. So if you find this happening, just kindly ask for the check and then you'll be on your way. And speaking of eating out, tipping in Scandinavia is not typical as many restaurants will include a service charge in your bill. You can leave a few kroner, such as rounding up to the next 5 or 10, for your waiter or waitress if they were attentive, but leaving a 20% tip is not necessary. And while we're on the topic of tipping, we do leave tipping up to your discretion on for the tour guides and bus driver. You'll find a handy guideline in your helpful hints booklet on page 23. You can offer a tip in US dollars, but local currency is usually preferable. Now, if you've ever arrived at your hotel and opened your suitcase to find that your shampoo has exploded all over your clothes, you can commiserate with me that that is no fun. So I would recommend packing shampoo, conditioner, soap, and other liquids in a Ziploc bag and putting those someplace where they won't come into contact with your clothing. You may also want to bring a small bit of soap to hand wash any items that you want to rewear. This might be a little less expensive than doing a full load of laundry or requesting cleaning services while traveling. Another handy tip, and one that I cannot stress enough, is to call your bank or credit card company before you leave the US to let them know that you are going overseas, for how long, and what to expect, and to expect some charges to show up. And the last thing you want to worry about when traveling is how you're going to pay for things. I always try and pack a couple of days before I actually leave. This will give you a chance to hopefully catch anything that you might miss. And finally, pack some snacks to take along with you. Granola bars, trail mix, etc. You can then use this space to bring home souvenirs and other things that you've purchased along the way. So here are some of the questions that were submitted on the form. So I'll just go through those really quick. The first one is, how much money should I bring? And this is a really hard question to answer because it really depends on a number of factors. The length of your stay, the extent of your travels, and last but not least, your shopping and sightseeing plans. So our tours typically include all of your breakfast and most dinners. However, lunches are usually left up to you. You can expect to spend $5 to $15 for lunch in Norway, but really if you eat a large breakfast and bring a snack with you and eat a decent dinner, you'll find that you won't really need lunch that often. Other expenses are usually of a personal nature, laundry, drinks at dinner, if you have any taxis, if you want to get around town, and gratuities for the driver and guides. So, so really, if you don't plan on spending a whole lot, you probably don't need too much of the local currency. Credit cards are widely accepted, so you shouldn't have to get too much money. Should you exchange or bring money before leaving the U.S.? And again, if your bank can exchange U.S. dollar into the local currency, whether that be Swedish kroner or Norwegian kroner, it may not be a bad idea to go ahead and bring some with you. You can contact your local bank to determine if they have kroner or euros. Euros are usually a little bit easier to find. If they don't have kroner, if you might ask if they can acquire some. You might also want to ask if there are any fees and what the exchange rate is so that you can compare that to the market value in order to make sure that you're getting a good rate of exchange. Now, how will I recognize others on tour? So after you get off your plane in your arrival city, the easiest way to spot other Brekkie Tour participants is to look for the Brekkie tag, tote bag, or luggage tag. We made our luggage tags really bright for a reason so that they are easy to spot. So this will not only help you locate your luggage, it'll help you locate potential friends on tour. And then also you'll look for your guide out in the arrivals hall, and they should be holding a Brekkie sign or something to indicate that that is where you need to go. If you arrive early, where should you meet the group? So the easiest place to meet your group is at dinner the night the group is scheduled to arrive. You should receive the time to meet your group for dinner in your information packet. It's on your departure letter. And usually that time is between 6:30 and 7 for dinner. Should I bring a cap and mittens? Um, Personally, I prefer to be warmer than colder. Thus, if your trip does include time on a boat, which most of them do, or treks up north of the Arctic Circle or into the mountains, it's certainly not a bad idea to bring warmer clothing. You can always take off a layer if you're warm, but if you're cold and you left those items at home, then you're just pretty much out of luck. Are seats assigned on the motor coach? Nope. We ask everyone on our tours to switch seats on board the bus so that everyone gets a chance to sit where they want. And a few more questions. Do my medications need to be in pharmacy labeled bottles? Now, currently, the TSA does not require passengers to have medications in prescription bottles. However, I would recommend taking at least a copy of your prescription or snap a picture of your pharmacy label when traveling. That way, in case you accidentally lose some pills, you can more easily get them refilled. Can I use my phone in Norway? Unless you have an international plan, your phone calls will probably not, or your phone probably won't work in Scandinavia. I would recommend contacting your carrier about an international plan. However, there are ways to make calls back home when you're connected to the Wi-Fi, either through FaceTime, Skype, or any other video chat applications. Just be sure and download them before you depart the US. So you still can use your phone. It's just that it will probably only work when you're actually connected to the Wi-Fi. And luckily, most of our buses do have Wi-Fi available on them, and then you'll also have Wi-Fi at the hotels. Will I be able to wash my clothes? I kind of hinted on this one before, but just to kind of summarize, if you're planning to pack light and wash your clothes while traveling in Scandinavia, you may be in for a challenge. Laundromats are pretty scarce, and some hotels do offer laundry services, but it can be pricey. So taking items that can easily be hand washed in the sink and then hung overnight to dry is a great way to keep your traveling garments smelling and looking fresh. So, any tips or suggestions for souvenirs? And so, this is also another difficult question because it's really going to depend on what country you're visiting and um, what interests you and what kind of things you want to bring home. But just in general, here are some ideas: postcards, Christmas ornaments, linens, magnets, music CDs, flags, and clothing, such as a Norwegian sweater. Other items that you might want to think about are trolls, Dala horses, Viking replica carvings, glassware, reindeer and animal pelts, candles, pewter or silver items. Liqueurs are also popular, but you will need to pack those in your checked luggage. If you do need items shipped home, that can also be arranged. I would just ask the shop if they offer shipping to the US. So that may be an option at some of the larger shops. And speaking of shopping, what is that? If you do extensive shopping while in Scandinavia, you will want to bring your passport along on your shopping trip. You'll get the necessary documents from the retailer, and before you depart back home, you'll need to go to the Global Blue Desk and get your value added tax refund, and that's what that stands for, value added tax. So to get your refund, your purchases have to be above a certain amount. And for instance, in Norway, it has to be above 315 kroner at a single retailer. So you can't add up your purchases from various shops to meet the required amount. So if you're doing a lot of shopping, you'll benefit from finding one spot where you can buy big. Now, if you're worried that you're going to starve while on our tours, not to worry. Each morning you'll be greeted with a full Scandinavian breakfast buffet, which usually includes a variety of breads, cereal, fruits, yogurt, meat, warm dishes such as a choice of meat and fish, fruits and vegetables, breads, potatoes. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, scrambled eggs and bacon and sausage. You'll have cheese, jams, and more. And then for dinner, it's more the same. There's usually a variety of things such as meat and fish, fruits and vegetables, breads, potatoes, and desserts. Some things that you may want to try when you're in Scandinavia: reindeer, different kinds of fish, yogurt, cream, and ice cream. It's wonderful over in Scandinavia. It has a higher fat content, which makes it taste even better. Strawberries in Norway are delicious. Cheeses, meatballs, waffles, and berries such as lingon and cloudberries, and of course the breads, because everything is homemade there, and it's just so good. You may also want to try some of the regional drinks such as aquavit, beer, and mixed drinks and wines. And finally, if you're planning to travel with a CPAP machine, it is considered a passenger medical device, such as it's the same as a wheelchair. So it will not be counted as part of your carry-on allowance. To bring one on the plane, you must submit the make and model in order to get the authorization to carry it aboard. So this information has to be entered no later than 72 hours prior to the original departure time. So if you are planning to travel with a CPAP machine on board the airlines, please send us an email at tours@breckitours.com with the make and model number, and then we'll submit that to the airlines for approval. So I know Patricia, you have a question in here about that. So if you could please send us an email with the make and model number of your CPAP machine, we'll make sure that gets over to Iceland Air and you could approve to bring that with you. And now you know. Sorry, my voice is kind of cutting out there toward the end, but we do have a few questions here that have were submitted along the way. But if you do have any other questions, now would be the time to send those in, and I'll try and get those answered for you. Curtis, you had asked about bringing snacks in your carry-on bags and check bags. So you can bring things that have been prepackaged and that are not liquid in your carry-on bag. Trail mix, things like that, those can be brought in your carry-on bag. Anything else you can bring in your checked luggage as long as it's prepackaged. They just don't allow fresh fruits and vegetables and obviously meat and things like that in when you are traveling. But all right, if there, do we have any other questions? If you do have one, there's a box down in the bottom right-hand corner that says type your message here, and that will get sent to me and I can answer your questions. Did I answer everybody's questions already? That's amazing. All right, well, if you guys do think of anything later and or have a question about something, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. I will be sending a copy of the presentation today out to everyone that registered. So this presentation has been recorded, and so you'll get a copy a little bit later with the link if you do want to review it again, in case you want to look up uh, one of the links that I had on the presentation, or if you need to read a little bit further. I hope everybody has a wonderful time in Scandinavia this summer. We so look forward to introducing you to our favorite corner of the world, and we hope everybody has safe travels, and we look forward to hearing back from you on how your trip went. And I will let everyone go for now. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, and have a wonderful time in Scandinavia. Thank you so much.